I myself am dialing in from lovely Limerick, the home of the Lee McCarthy. I think I have to get that in every time. And you're all so welcome for joining us on our today's wonderful masterclass session on how to compete and win as an SME in the digital economy. Now, looking down the lens of the camera here, it's great to be in the company of so many faces, many that I know who might be part of the Business All-Stars or might have been supporters or partners or participants of the All-Ireland Business Foundation or the All-Ireland Business Summit. But to those of you who have joined one of our previous monthly leadership series or masterclasses, you're very welcome back. And for those of you for whom this is your maiden voyage with us here today, thank you so much for joining. We promise a very, very productive 90 minutes in your great company. So just going to go through a few little small housekeeping tips to make sure the most enjoyable experience for us all on here today. So throughout today's session, if you could just ensure that your microphone is muted, but it would be great if your video could be turned on, because it really helps to that level of engagement for all of us to feel we are in in one another's company as well, but also for our speakers and our panelists today. It's much more engaging if we feel that we're speaking down to somebody rather than a camera turned off. Now, I do know the situations when you mightn't allow, to have your camera on, but if you could keep your camera on, that's fantastic. There's nothing nicer than seeing somebody smiling back through the lens of the camera at you. So through today's session, if something comes up for you, or if you have a particular question that you need answered or isn't being answered, just pop it in the comment box. We'll do our very best to address them throughout the session and also put some time aside towards the end. And if we don't get to it, then we'll hopefully be able to follow up with you afterwards as well. So many of you have got there already. You've dropped a comment in the comment box to greet everybody on here. And if you haven't, just drop it in. As I said, it's great to know in whose company we're actually in today as well. So you can do that. So just see, we still have quite a few people still joining us. So just give you a quick overview of the All-Ireland Business Foundation, just while we're all getting settled in. So for those of you that I haven't personally met yet, my name is Elaine Carroll, and together with my colleague Kapil Khanna, we co-founded the All-Ireland Business Foundation. Now, the All-Ireland Business Foundation is an autonomous national accreditation body, and we're tasked with enterprise development and the promotion of best-in-class business as Business All-Stars. Now, this is achieved by identifying, acknowledging, and supporting the country's most ambitious and visionary businesses and their leaders, like each and every one of you. Now, this is just a sample of some of our activities that we have ongoing throughout the year at the All-Ireland Business Foundation. So we host the All-Ireland Business Summit, the Leaders and Entrepreneurs Forum, and monthly gatherings like this as well to promote peer learning and collaboration among our members, which we serve through three core pillars: collaboration, inspiration, and celebration. So here's just a snapshot of our participants and of their profiles and of what they look like. So as the awarding body for the All-Star accreditation mark, we recognise best-in-class Irish businesses that merit recognition based on an independent audit of their performance, reputation, and customer centricity. So Business All-Star accreditation is the nation's symbol of trust. So if you see a business displaying the All-Star seal, you will know that they've independently proven themselves in terms of trust, performance, and customer centricity. And I would encourage you to do business with them. Currently, there are over 600 companies that are accredited by the All-Ireland Business Foundation. And you may be asking yourself, maybe, why would you want to become a Business All-Star? Well, I think today more than ever, it's important to stand out in a way that will not only get you in front of your ideal audience, but will also allow you to illustrate the value that you're bringing to the marketplace. On top of that, social proof, third-party verification, and trust are some of the most valuable currencies in any business. It's critically important for customers to understand that they're doing business with the very best, those that can endure now and in the future and are stable, and those, most importantly, that have their customers' best interests at heart at all times. But let's face it, and I think it's something that most of us here will relate to today, entrepreneurship can be a lonely place, regardless of how big your team or your business may be. So our All-Stars become part of a growing community and tribe of All-Stars, all of whom are forward-thinking, optimistic, and most importantly, open to new business opportunities and growth. The programme isn't for everyone, but if you take great pride and value in your work, I'd encourage you just to be curious, maybe as to how you could become part of the Business All-Stars, or how you could be involved more deeply in initiatives and gatherings like this here today. Now, we're very fortunate to have a fantastic lineup of partners and supporters who empower us to serve you, the Irish business community, through our ongoing activities, because it's with their support that gatherings like the Summit and today's session are possible. Now, today, I'd like to shine a spotlight on Technology Ireland ICT SkillNet, who we're delighted to team up with. And I'd like to welcome in particular Gillian O'Grady and Susan Kelly, who've been instrumental in bringing together and in shaping up today's session. Together, we recognise the importance of ensuring that businesses are embracing technology to help secure their futures. And that is why we're all on today's masterclass. So you'll hear from Gillian towards the end of today's session, who will share with you the various supports and activities and initiatives they have, which can help you on your journey. So now I think, ladies and gentlemen, we've over 130 businesses on it. We're going to get cracking and get into today's session. So I'm going to start by introducing you all to our wonderful lineup. First and foremost, Niall McKeown. This session will be facilitated by Niall himself, who is the CEO of Ionology, a digital transformation, executive education and advisory firm. They're headquartered in the north of Ireland, but they've got offices in the United States and also in the Middle East. And for over 25 years, Niall himself has helped senior executives to close that gap between business capabilities of technology and their corporate strategy. Niall himself is a renowned thought leader, and he's a very much in-demand public speaker, making frequent appearances on the company's very popular YouTube channel. And I'd encourage any of you here today to check out his YouTube channel. There's fantastic videos and assets there, which will be very, very helpful for you and for your business. And he's also authored several books, with one of those being a co-author of the book, The 7 Principles of Digital Business Strategy, very apt given today's title, session title. Niall will be joined by a wonderful panel who will give real-life examples and put the theory into context and into practice. So we'll hear from Rachel McCausland, who's the CEO of the Lowe Corporation. They're an Irish business that provides management of refrigeration rental sales to major food retailers and producers, food exhibitions, sporting events and festivals across Europe, the Middle East and the United States. We'll also be joined by Michael Crean. I'll give you your full title, Michael Crean, more fondly known as Mick of Mick's Garage. When Mick became unemployed and was living in a small sleepy village in the northwest Mayo, surrounded by sheep, cows and a great view of Loweconex, he says himself, the first sod was turned, aka the first computer turned on, and the idea behind Mick's Garage was born. So they started off with a modest 3,000 product listing. Now, today, 2002, they offer over 10 million parts and accessory listings and have established themselves as one of Europe's largest car parts and accessories online retailers. And they deliver products to over 70 countries worldwide, all from humble beginnings in the lovely west of Ireland. Mick's Garage is a prime example of an e-commerce tech company where they have innovation at their core, and their pick, sort and pack technology, would you believe, has handled over 100,000 e-commerce parcels in the last 30 days on behalf of clients now in pharmacy, books, shoes, music and gifts. Also forming part of the lineup is Peter Rose, who's the Managing Director of Tech Enable. They're a 5-in-a-row business all-star company, with Peter himself being AIBF's Irish UK Business Person of the Year for 2022. Peter co-founded Tech Enable back in 2002 to provide high-quality software solutions to financial services, healthcare, agri-food and the public sector. So after 20 years in business, Tech Enable are experts in rapid digital transformation through low-code platforms, and they help companies to maximize revenue, reduce costs, and empower employees to bring results faster using rapid digital transformation services. Some of the exciting projects they've recently worked on include the COVID-19 contact tracing system for the HSE and the HSE positive antigen results portal. Now, I'm going to hand you over, ladies and gentlemen, to Niall, who's going to take you on a wonderful journey. I personally am looking forward to hearing of a lot of the tools, tips and tricks behind, but also to embracing, I suppose, the importance of digital transformation and why we all need, to be so on top of it. So Niall, you're very welcome and thank you for joining us today.
Elaine, thank you very much indeed. I'm just going to share my screen here and make sure that you guys, if you see me looking the wrong direction, if you're all on this screen, my slides that I'm speaking to are on this screen. So at least you know why I'm turning around if I appear to be gazing into the distance. I'd like to thank Susan and Gillian from Technology Ireland ICT SkillNet, who fund all of this, and the All Ireland Business Foundation for giving us the platform to talk to so many of you. I'd also like to thank my co-panelists here. We have Rachel from Loweconex, we have Mick from Micks Garage, we have Peter from Tech Enable, and of course myself from Ionology. Here's the thing I want to talk about. Digital transformations and technology are everywhere. I mean, the pandemic really took care of that. We learned to school online, we learned to shop online, to entertain online, to pray online, to exercise online, to communicate online. I mean, there's no part of our normal lives that doesn't contain some part of digital interference. And it's not separate anymore. I mean, if you get upset or angry, you don't get Twitter angry. But in the real world, you're not angry. You get angry in the real world. Emotionally, we are connected from the digital perspective, as well as physically and the economically, societally. And this is all constituting the digital economy. All of these transactions, all of these interactions are now starting just to become accepted. Most businesses believe the application of technology itself is transformational. And I'm here to say it's not. It's not. Just applying technology does not give you the right to compete, does not give you the right to win, does not mean that you will have competitive advantage as a result. It can even mean that you won't even have lower costs of running as a result. But we do know for sure there's a particular type of business that just seems to keep accelerating, and it is those digitally innovative businesses. We have Rachel from Loweconex, who we will be speaking to in about half an hour, but I want to introduce you to a different Rachel. This is Rachel from Arizona, and this is a project we worked on pre-pandemic. Now, Rachel's husband is from Dundalk. There's the Irish connection. But Rachel Fremore is third generation furniture shop owner in Arizona. And she has all the bells and whistles. She's got her e-commerce site. It's up and running. She has 18 retail outlets, and everything on the surface appears to be good. But the challenge that Rachel is facing is that the profits, while they're still there, they're still maintaining profits, but there's no growth. And the e-commerce section of her business is actually losing money, which is not abnormal for e-commerce, for those who produce their own e-commerce websites. Yet, we're all told you got to get online, you got to have your website, you got to be there, have your shop out front. Do you? When we take a look at the business, you can see what's happening. There's a shift in trend in the furniture market. She has stayed in the urban centers while her out-of-town competitors have expanded and new competitors have entered the market. So why doesn't Rachel go to these big out-of-town retailers and become one of them? Well, she's tried it, but she doesn't get the same footfall, but she's got the same costs. And therefore, the economic model for her that she's tried on several occasions, her and her father, haven't yielded what the business needs in order to change that model. So they keep staying in the urban centers. She's got good business processes and she's super smart. There's nothing wrong with the management team. They understand their product, they understand their industry, and the business is efficient. Her products are on trend and she's purchased them from wholesale in the Middle East and the Far East, and she's bringing in these products at good prices. There's nothing wrong with her margins. There's nothing wrong with the products. There's nothing wrong with the leadership team, and there's nothing wrong with the logistics. She has centralized warehousing. So they're not buying large amounts, splitting it into different retail outlets, having to pay for costs that the big out-of-town guys don't have. They have out-of-town centralized warehousing, and they're within a couple of hours of every retail outlet that they have. So they can do rapid distribution. She's got good marketers. She brought marketing in-house after blaming the creative agency that designed her e-commerce website twice. That wasn't working. blame the agency. That didn't work. Bring it in-house. Not an abnormal story. So she's recruited good people who understand the digital landscape. She's got her own e-commerce platform and it's integrated right into the stock management system. She's upgraded that. She's brought in her Oracle system. I mean, she's got the best of tech. So why is she not growing? Why is the business not successful? So when we ask Rachel, what's your strategy here? What are you going to do about this? Rachel says, well, I'm going to get a grant or a loan. I'm going to automate all our manual processes. I'm going to upgrade our website for the third time because everybody keeps telling her it's a new platform she needs. We're going to get better understanding of our data because we're not really that data centric. We're going to move to Microsoft Azure cloud platform because, boy, we need those tools. We need machine learning models. We need to be able to predict what customers want. We're going to outsource the ad spending to more competent agencies. And we're going to educate our staff and send them all on programs of education. What's the problem with Rachel's digital transformation strategy? Does anybody want to hazard a guess? We could bring you in here. If anybody wanted to hazard a guess, what could be wrong with this digital transformation strategy? Anybody want to put it in the comments? I'll go back to the strategy so you can see what it looks like. Anybody got any suggestions? Vision, mission, says Aisling. Not focused enough, says Paul. Yeah, you could be right on that. Lack of differentiation of service, says Peter. And Peter hasn't seen this before, Peter Rose. Yes, you're absolutely right, Peter. Target market not defined. Brand and customer focus, says John. Barbara Monaghan, brand connects to customers. Here's the thing. Yeah, Barbara Monaghan brings up a good point here. Is the brand not connecting with customers? Like, I mean, this is third generation. They're known in the locality, but still the consumer habits are to go out of town, get the nice coffee, have meatballs, pick up and sit on the sofa that you want. So should be targeted as to what the goal is. Okay, you're all right. No one here is wrong, but there's some. I'm going to categorize everything you're saying into something that's much more simple. What's wrong with the strategy for digital transformation? The answer is her strategy isn't strategic, and nor is it transformational. Her strategy isn't actually a strategy, and her transformation is not transformational. But yet, she's budgeted for digital transformation. She's on that journey. This is a list of actions, a to-do list that she has prepared. Now, what could be going on here? Let's just take a look at Michael Porter, Professor Michael Porter, and what he says about strategy in its essence, about the idea of considering technology itself to be strategic.
And if we can't tie our competitive advantage to the specific activities from which it arises, then we are not thinking clearly. If we're satisfied with very vague kind of strengths and weaknesses list, we're not thinking very clearly about strategy. Now, then as we go forward and think about positioning, we've got to add one other critical concept. And that's the distinction between operational effectiveness and strategic positioning. Operational effectiveness is staying at best practice, doing things well, good execution, whatever you want to call it. Should we be on the cloud or should we have our own servers? That's an operational effectiveness question. It's kind of a best practice question. But what we understand is that operational effectiveness is not strategy.
So operational effectiveness, being good at what we do, is a basic commodity that all businesses need to do. Leveraging technology has happened since the dawn of the Industrial Revolution. Just by doing what has been going on since the dawn of the Industrial Revolution does not give strategic importance, and it does not give us a transformed business, and nor does it mean we will be able to compete more aggressively in the digital economy. So it's more than that. What a strategy is understanding the market that we wish to play and defining that the game that we're going to play. Who are we going to service? What is the game that we must play? Who are our customers? Who are their customers? And what value proposition, product and service could we innovate in order to steal their customers and prevent them taking ours? Now, the problem with this model is you don't own the customer. The customer gets to make their own decision. Where with everything that Rachel had listed, it was within her control. You get budget, you put in the tech, you put in the people, you put in the education. There. I'm in control. I choose the dates. I choose the vendors. I choose the outcome. When it talks about strategy, you hope for the outcome. Let's just take a look in a little bit more depth. Here's a 4-minute video. I'm going to switch on, share my computer sound. I know that this has an effect. I don't really know what it does, but I've pressed it now. It's a 4-minute video that explains this in infinite detail. And why is this important? Because in SME land, where I live and you live, very few businesses start with a strategic plan. We start with a technical plan and a to-do list, and we elevate the importance of that to-do list by calling it strategic.
This thing called planning has been around for a long, long time. Well, people would plan out the activities they're going to engage in. More recently, has been a discipline called strategy. People have put those two things together to call something strategic planning. Unfortunately, those things are not the same, strategy and planning. So just putting them together and calling it strategic planning doesn't help. What most strategic planning is in the world of business has nothing to do with strategy. It's got the word, but it's not. It's a set of activities that the company says it's going to do. We're going to improve customer experience. We're going to open this new plant. We're going to start a new talent development program, a whole list of them, and they all sound good. But the results of all of those are not going to make the company happy because they didn't have a strategy. So what's a strategy? A strategy is an integrated set of choices that positions you on a playing field of your choice in a way that you win. So there's a theory. Strategy has a theory. Here's why we should be on this playing field, not this other one. And here's how, on that playing field, we're going to be better than anybody else at serving the customers on that playing field. That theory has to be coherent. It has to be doable. You have to be able to translate that into actions for it to be a great strategy. Planning does not have to have any such coherence. And it typically is what people in manufacturing want, the few things they want to build a new plant, and the marketing people want to launch a new brand, and the talent people want to hire more people. There tends to be a list that has no internal coherence to it and no specification of a way that that is going to accomplish collectively some goal for the company. See, planning is quite comforting. Plans typically have to do with the resources you're going to spend. So we're going to build a plant. We're going to hire some people. We're going to launch a new product. Those are all things that are on the cost side of businesses. Who controls your costs? Who's the customer of your costs? The answer is you are. You decide how many square feet to lease, how many raw materials to buy, how many people to hire. Those are more comfortable because you control them. A strategy, on the other hand, specifies an outcome, a competitive outcome that you wish to achieve, which involves customers wanting your product or service enough that they will buy enough of it to make the profitability that you'd like to make. The tricky thing about that is that you don't control them. You might wish you could, but you can't. They decide, not you. That's a harder trick. So that means putting yourself out and saying, here's what we believe will happen. We can't prove it in advance. We can't guarantee it. But this is what we want to have happen and that we believe will happen. It's much easier to say, I'll build a factory, I will hire more people, etc., than I will have customers end up liking our offering more than those of competitors. The tricky thing about planning is that while you're planning, chances are at least one competitor is figuring out how to win.
So very, very interesting. And this is where I find the fundamentals are usually missing. What is your strategy? When we ask Rachel Fremore, she's unable to articulate it. And so what happens is there are plans galore. They're all called strategies. There's a web strategy, a content strategy, an ad strategy, a brand strategy, a go-to-market strategy, a technology strategy, and none of them are strategic. None of them actually mention what field we're playing on, what customers we're going to go up against, what outcome we'd like to achieve, and how we're going to defeat those competitors. That's really where it starts to get, that's the bit that's missing. And digital transformation is this deliberate strategic repositioning in the digital economy. I find this, Rita McGrath is a wonderful series of books about transient value propositions. I'll not go into that, but I found this actually just yesterday on Harvard Business Review. For all the ink spilled on the concept of strategy, it continuously proves to be a surprisingly slippery idea. In practice, leaders often struggle to define and communicate strategies to their team. In their 2008 article, Can You Say What Your Strategy Is? David Collis and Michael Ruxted didn't mince words. Most executives cannot articulate the objective, scope, and advantage of their business in a simple statement. If they can't, neither can anyone else. And you cannot transform unless you know what you're transforming into. And to do that, you need to be able to state your competitive advantage. And that comes from the process of innovation. So when we start to unpack this, and in the day we did this with Rachel, it literally just took a day. We looked at tools. There's a tool that we have here called Propulsion. The URL will flash up on the screen and you'll be able to get it at the end. It scores your competitiveness, your digital competitiveness. If you were in a boxing match, who have you to go up against in order to attract a customer in your area, in order that they will find you, that they will engage with you, that they will purchase from you. And Rachel's score is 21 out of 100. And that's okay with the local competitors at 3 and 17 and 22, but the new guys, America Furniture Warehouse, Space Living, Ashley Furniture, and IKEA, they've all moved in, and their digital footprint is huge. Now, this is not a measurement of your website, it's a measurement of the competitiveness and your innovation levels as it would appear to a normal customer who's looking for a product or service in furniture. In other words, she doesn't have the muscle to play this game. Mick, if you don't mind, can I ask you to come in? You're in retail.
Yep.
Do you find the muscle needed for certain fights? Is there fights that you withdraw from, fights that you would run to? Do you pick your fights, or do you just drown the world with tactics? What's your play from a retail perspective?
Yeah, well, I suppose, thanks very much for bringing me in. I suppose what we would have done for many, many years is almost been, I suppose, busy fools at times. We saw lots and lots of shiny different sort of targets, and we would have went after lots of different angles, and we would have targeted all sorts of different ranges. And at the time, what would have happened was we would have added a certain amount of ranges, and it would have simply transferred money or transferred revenue sort of from one side of the business to the other. And it wasn't necessarily bringing in any new money. And this was part of, so this went on for sort of a long time, where we realized No, we needed to double down. We needed to simplify our business. We needed to look at the stuff that was working really well and make it work even better. So there was always sort of an angle of looking at things that didn't work and trying to somehow make them work. But it was like flogging a dead donkey. I mean, it just wasn't going to work. And too many resources were put into those type of situations. But once we realized, actually, let's look at the ranges that are working really well for us. Let's look at the strategies that are working for us and double down more on those. What it meant was our OPEX cost was cheaper. We became experts in smaller numbers of ranges, which meant our competitors couldn't take those off us as easily, because when you have the knowledge and you have all the sort of competitive advantage there. So we really, I suppose that's been our strategy then over the past 2 years in particular, is to go after more of those niche ranges, make things simpler for ourselves and really simplify the business.
So play the games that you can win.
Correct.
And don't enter the fights where you're going to be outmastered or outcompeted by the large players.
Absolutely.
So thank you, Mick. Here's the thing. This is what we did with Rachel. Same idea. And there's lots of data out there that you can leverage in order to know whether or not the sport that you're playing in the field that you're playing it on is actually even something that you should strategically be entering. Now, they don't teach this yet at college. They do. They should do. ICT, Technology Ireland, ICT SkillNet do. But the amount of data that would give you the pointers. And the cool thing about data is it takes the heat out of the argument, because it's no longer about what you believe versus what I believe. It's what does the data say? So what happened with Rachel, there's a little bit more complexity to it, but I'm simplifying it down a little bit, is that we try to take a look at who are the customers here? How many are there in her market? Does she know what percentage of those have are looking for the similar products or services that she's wanting to sell? Does she know? And if so, if she was to enter that market against IKEA, could she win? And this is all testable without ever actually starting to spend money on building a marketing team, integrating our stock management systems. All of this stuff can be tested through rapid experimentation. But there needs to be both capacity and a small bit of budget and the spirit of the leaders who want to transform their business through innovation and through data. So that'll mean you have to start with some level of education. We're back with Technology Ireland again. So ICT SkillNet. How many people were there? We just went into the general tools to see what was happening in Google Trends, trends.google.com. And what we were able to do is put in furniture stores, select the area of Arizona. We could see that there's demand for this happening in Arizona. There's enough people I can get to see that Phoenix is more popular than Tucson, which is more popular than Yuma. And then I also get to see what are related queries. And these related queries are used furniture stores near me has grown by 450%. Used furniture stores up by 100%. American Furniture Warehouse, which has just entered the market, it's up by 90. Furniture stores and big lots of furniture up by 70%. Now, I don't know what that means, but I set the data to one side and I can see generally that there is good, strong activity in this area. I then want to go and take a look at how many exact people are searching for furniture stores in Arizona. I can go into Google's keyword tools. It's free to use. It's a part of their ad platform. And what I can do is I can see how many people are searching for it. I can also go to see how many people, I think I'm missing a slide here, actually. Let me just go forward. Yeah, I'm missing a slide. Forgive me. The point that I was trying to make is that when I go in to take a look at Google Ads, yeah, this should just come up. Maybe I clicked on it. Yes, Ads allows me to go into Keyword Planner. And inside Keyword Planner, I can say how many people in the state of Arizona or how many people in Letterkenny, how many people in Kilkenny, you can go that specific, are searching for the product or service that I sell. And it will give you a forecast into the future using AI as to how many people will be searching for the products or services that you're talking about. And so when we look for furniture stores, we can get to see, we change the location here to Arizona. We get a survey of 8.2 million people. You've got a free survey of 8.2 million people. And we can see that there's 34,000. If I was to pay a certain amount of money, I'm going to say I'll pay unlimited money. How many people are actually looking for furniture stores in Arizona? Wow, it's 99,000. Every month are Googling furniture stores in Arizona. How many of those 99,000 do I currently see me? Well, I can go into my Google Search Console. Again, another free tool. Google Search Console tells Rachel that actually, out of all the people that are looking for furniture stores in Arizona, she's getting 96,000 impressions. Framework Furniture is coming up number 1. She's appearing 2,500 times and only getting 139 clicks. Furniture Stores, she's appearing 2,395 times and only getting 88 clicks. We know there's 99,000 searches per month for this search term, and we know she's getting 88 of those. 88. The problem isn't that she isn't good at search engine optimization. The problem is she doesn't have the muscle to compete in this market. And that's just it. Not under the current business model. Not under the current business model that took her for 40 years to this point. Will she be able to continue for the next 5 years? The game's over. Digital's killed it. We can go into her analytics and we can get to see referral traffic. That's when bloggers start talking to her about her product and put it in situation in their blogging, in the blogosphere. People can then say, oh, I like that. That gives me good amounts of attention. But this is conversions over here, loads of conversions. But it's too difficult to deal with bloggers and influencers. It's never going to scale. She's also gone and outsourced her advertising. But we can see that the advertising that she's spending, while it gets behavior, gets people, very few convert. And spending more on advertising isn't going to fix that. Her business model is broken. We interview Rachel and say, Rachel, what is going on? And she said, we can't grow. But what we've tried to grow is that there's loads of new builds going on. There's lots of construction in Arizona going on. They all seem to go to out of town. We don't get the footfall if we go out of town. We know that people are looking for used furniture. And so Rachel says, do you think those people who are going out of town are actually looking for used furniture? These could be second homes. These could be rental properties. So she looks up and sees, if I was one of them and I looked for used furniture, which we know has grown by 450%, who do I find? And the answer is, you find 4th edition used office furniture. You find Jerry's office furniture for used furniture stores near me, up 450%. These people aren't competing. So she goes to the landlord agency and goes, what's actually happening here? Turns out huge swathes of investment is going in for buy to let. It's coming in particular from several large landlords and pension funds. She goes and looks at Arizona real estate and talks to them, and she realizes that they're going and buying stuff from websites that offer the big furniture that tend to be larger sizes. There isn't enough furniture in this market. So she says, I'm going to test something. I'm going to go and ask these people if they'll rent the furniture from me. I am going to allow them to change it. And they can, so a tenant can come in and change the mattress every day if they want. Because that's what they're saying. We want unlimited choice. We want you to decorate the rooms. We want you to put the furniture in and take it out. And we will, through the rental agreement, give you the money for the rental of the furniture, because that's what the customer wants. She goes back to her father. Her father says, you're crazy. So she creates experiments. She's done the diagnostic, booming retail market. She's done the buying secondhand, would prefer not to. This is what the customers are telling her. Tenants want furnished, but they have their own tastes. There's 3 sections to the market, high end, mid and low. She's not interested in low end. Neither the landlord or the tenant wants a hassle or expensive furniture, and the landlords need flexibility in the mid to high end range. She creates What does she do? She creates a brochure, a print brochure, and goes and sees the landlords. They then agree. She then starts to validate this with customers who say they want a choice of furniture, but actually they don't. They want a choice of rooms. And when they select it and turn up for the house, they don't change it. Her father was wrong in his assumption, proven by a few quick experiments. She then builds the business to business and business to consumer ends of her inventory and leverages her shops. Tenants say they want to change furniture at any time. They don't. It's like comfy pairs of slippers. Once they're on, you don't really want the new ones. Build specific apps for landlords and tenants. There's a huge amount of technology starting to come in, really powering this business. Landlords start to leverage the services as part of their marketing position. So everybody's now expecting to be able to choose from a catalogue of room choices. I've got 2 children. I want this for the boys' bedroom, this for the girls' bedroom. They want to be able to just make that selection and for it all to be there. And so she starts to understand the market. Her old business model does not die, but during COVID it did. She shut the retail outlets because she had to. But the new business model has grown very rapidly, and Rachel herself has to do different types of purchasing. She has to open up repairs to her business. She's got all these logistics challenges. She now needs stylists to take photographs, to build catalogs. I mean, it's not the same business that she started, but the whole thing is powered by technology. And the technology she has now is way more advanced than anything that she had. That's actually a photograph taken of Rachel in Dundalk. The Ferris wheel behind her was in Dundalk when I last met her. So this is a lady who went through education, changed her role from being a shopkeeper to being a strategist, to understanding what it was going to take to compete. She got qualitative and quantitative data. She understood emerging technology. She ran experiments and she innovated. And we're going to see another Rachel that has done that very, very shortly. Before we go into Rachel McCausland, not Rachel Fremore, both very similar actually, not just in name, but in nature too. I just want to talk here for a second about the idea that strategy is good, but technology also inspires. Technology is a great inspiration. And so if we're going to be leaders, managers, decision makers, running small businesses, and we don't know the power of machine learning, low code, no code, rapid application development, IoT, blockchain, data, then we will not have that inspiration. And we don't need to know how it works. We've got people like Peter Rose. Peter, can you speak to the point around technology pull versus strategy push? Can you do one without the other?
Absolutely, no, thank you. I suppose the way I would put it, I give a couple of different analogies for you, but the one I would put is, you know, if you're a sprinter in a race and I'm the last person that would be able to run, I can't run for a bus, but if you imagine you're wearing the very best pair of running shoes that you have, and it enables you to run that 5% faster than your nearest competitor, perhaps. Absolutely fantastic advantage for you, but absolutely useless if you're running the wrong race, if you're in the wrong direction, if you're not even in the stadium, right? That's what technology is. Now, the inspirational element of it is perhaps you went to the shop and you saw these new running shoes and you thought, well, wow, that'll enable me to run a race that perhaps I didn't think I could. Maybe I didn't think I could enter that. Maybe I didn't think I could compete in that way. And the technology, the running shoes, has enabled you to suddenly have that inspiration, that idea, that ambition that maybe you can do it. But without the strategy, you're in the wrong race, you're in the wrong stadium. So that's probably the simplest way I can put it. And the two things are a necessary bedfellows. You can't typically in today's world implement a really good business strategy without having really good technology underpinning you. It's going to hold you back. It's going to put constraints. It's going to cause difficulties for you if you don't have good tech. But having good tech with no strategy, completely pointless.
Yeah, couldn't agree more. And I tend to come more from the strategy end, Peter from the technology end. And what we're finding is that the technology, I mean, leaders themselves will not be replaced by emerging technology, but leaders that understand emerging technology will replace those that don't. It's not just an IT thing anymore. Technology is an integrated part of all our businesses. And to think that someone who is good at running an AWS server is then also good at transforming a business, it's mistaken. The business transformation and digital transformation needs to be led by business leaders who understand the business capability of emerging tech.
Yeah.
It's the inspiration. It allows you then to figure out waves of change and where your game can be played. Digital transformation is the deliberate, strategic repositioning of your business in the digital economy, leveraging emerging technology. You've got to have the strategy. You've got to understand the tech. You got to look for waves of change, and then you've got to pounce. You've got to have the courage and the bravery, or the bridge is on fire and you've got to move, and or else you're going to drown. I mean, you just need to take a leap if we want to transform. It's not about operational updates. It's about something a little bit more than that. So what we'll do here is that there's 3 stages. Most businesses get trapped in digitizing. Digitizing is using technology and systems to make processes faster, cheaper, better. And that's not a bad thing. We've got to do it. But digital transformation is different. It's new product, services, or business models to compete in this newly defined arena. We need to know what it is that we're transforming from and into to be able to articulate that. We need to be able to communicate that. We need to have a new desired value proposition as a result. And we need to know how it's going to impact people, because the biggest challenge to digital transformation is not technology, it's politics. So how do you bring people with you? Is that the future state needs to have clarity, and you need to be able to bring people on that journey. Then we move into automation at scale. In my experience, you can't jump from 1 to 3. You need to be able to bring people on that journey. They need to go through and innovate. Peter, you do a lot of low code, no code stuff. This is rapid innovation stuff. Do you find people are now becoming more experimental in their approach to business and strategic planning?
Yes, they're becoming. I mean, we're providing them with the tools that they can do things faster, and I suppose a lot of startups would talk about doing things quickly and failing early. We much prefer to do things quickly and succeed, but yes, it does allow for an additional degree of experimentation and to see what actually works and what doesn't work. I will push back a little bit against you, Niall, in terms of, if you're trying to transform, you do need to have a good ground base of tech, systems, processes. You can't suddenly leap into a new space with a business strategy and not have that groundwork done.
There's no pushback on me. You have to digitize before you transform. Yeah. I agree with that.
But yes, the new types of systems that we deliver, the low-code platforms, etc., they're absolutely enabling a new era in digital transformation, a new era of even of digitizing. Taking processes and making them more efficient can be done much quicker on low-code, as well as leaping into entirely new realms you haven't envisaged before.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah, digitizing to me is step 1. My point is, quite often we call it transformational. And it's neither strategic, it's operational. Remember Michael Porter, it's the operational efficiency, moving from your on-prem service to your cloud. That's not strategic, it's operational. Yeah. Automating your systems processes, that's operational. It should be done. Now, how are we going to transform? How are we going to beat those competitors in that space? And here's the cool thing, we didn't even get into competitor data. The old way of looking at competitor data is you take a snapshot. A bit like you looking at a racing car going around the track. You see the competitors, but you can't tell how fast they're going. You can't tell who's driving. You can't tell their direction of travel, other than at that moment when you take the snapshot. With data-driven strategic frameworks, the competitors weave. They come in and out of markets. Market opportunities open up and decrease again rather quickly. So you won't spot the opportunities unless you're looking at the data with the lens of trying to find it. Thank you, Peter. So guys, here's a little question. I've got something for you to do. Digital and transformation. I'm going to run a quick poll here. where do you think most of the effort really needs to go in terms of digital transformation? And we talk about hard and soft. Hard is the idea of developing stuff, cloud, platforms, cybersecurity, enterprise architecture, big data analytics, managed services, operational efficiency, mobility, disaster recovery, systems integration. And for transformation to happen, it needs to have the right strategies, new skills and job roles, understanding the business value of emerging tech. Security governance is being put into play. You've got digital skills and competencies in-house. People are ready to adopt a change, understanding product life cycles, creating new value propositions. I'm going to ask you now, if you wouldn't mind, going to this link. And what I want you to do is I want you to click on, it's really 50% hard digital, 50% transformation of the effort it's going to take to transform. By the way, there's no science in this. There's no right or wrong answer. It's just a survey. And I would like to see what you put down as, you'll see it coming up a little screen like that. And then you get in. And when you start to come into this, you should now see this. Oh, it hasn't come to life. Why has it not come to life for me? If it's not, we'll have to skip it. I think it's starting to load. Okay, that hasn't worked. Let me just bring it into a browser and see, does it work there? If we could take the survey from you. Okay, so we're getting 50-50, 80% digital, 20%, 50-50, 40, okay. Here's the interesting thing about all of this. You can see that the vast majority here, I would say 70 to 80% of people in this room, of which there's currently 153, are saying that it is at least 50-50 or more to do with the more effort needs to be put into the transformational side of things. Now, personally, I'm a 50-50 guy. I think you need strategy push, technology pull. You need all those transformation things, but it cannot be enabled without the technology. But usually, where do the wheels fall off? Technologists typically deliver whatever it is that you ask them for. They typically do deliver. It's what you're asking them for to create that competitive advantage. In my experience, that's where the problem lies. And so it is then getting about change and getting people to create not just a change management system, it's a momentum of change, momentous change. And so most of us are saying here it's either 50-50 or it's more on the transformational side. The second question I would ask, the follow-up question is, okay, if that's the case, is that where you're putting your budgets? Is that where the budget is? Oh, now it decides to work. Is that where you're putting your budgets? And my guess is no. We put it in the tech. So let me just see what's happened here. We put it in the tech. Okay. Rachel McCausland, come in. Can you hear me, Rachel McCausland?
Yes.
Are you there?
Yep.
Rachel, can you explain who's in this photograph?
Well, we have on the left-hand side, that's Fergus McElduff. He is our Chief Transformation Officer, and he joined the business in February of this year. We have Rodney Lowry. He is our Executive Director, and he's our Executive Chairman as well as our CFO on the right-hand side, and that is Niall Gamble and myself.
You in the middle. And what's your role, Rachel?
So my role, I'm the CEO of Lowe Corporation, and I took over from Rodney in April, just past this year.
Rachel, can you give us a little bit of background? What happened during COVID? Explain what your business does and what happened during COVID, if you don't mind.
Yeah, so Lowe Corporation are the world leaders in renting refrigeration and catering equipment to leading sporting events, exhibitions, kitchen infrastructure projects all over the world. And when the pandemic hit just over 2 years ago, our exhibition and events business basically fell off a cliff overnight. So it was like a tidal wave from east to west. It started in Japan. We had equipment that was sitting in the docks that didn't ever get onto an exhibition floor, right through to 2 months later. We had a show in Anaheim where we were due to deliver refrigeration equipment, and the doors of that show didn't open. So we had a period where the business had a huge amount of revenue that we had no ability to repurpose in that sort of volume. Yes, we turned to frontline services and promoting our efforts with the likes of temporary mortuaries and the likes of Nightingale hospitals and whatever. But we then saw ourselves in a period where we needed to change and transform and innovate in order to keep the business moving forward.
Where I came in contact with Rachel in this one was starting with education. Rachel, have you anything to add about education, or do you want me to?
Education is fundamental to changing a business, especially for us. We were moving into being a very asset focused business where we were moving equipment all over the world, and it was a physical piece of a physical product that we were selling. So we had to change very quickly into being a SaaS provider and a high functioning SaaS sales offensive, marketing offensive, tech hub, bureau, and we had to learn how to do that and how to leverage our network that we had globally effectively so that it would work.
So it was taking the assets that you had access to, leveraging those assets, but to reposition on a wave of change. So we went through sessions where we looked at the mindset of the leaders. Rodney was in the room. The leadership team were there. I remember we had the tables full. We looked at strategy and strategic planning, what needed to be done. We looked at operating models, because the same way in which people in their current roles isn't going to suit the new transformed roles. We looked at the operating models. We looked at what new emerging technology has to offer. The wave of change was obvious. It's COVID. We looked at how you innovate, and the business was naturally very innovative already. I mean, Rodney in particular was, if you tried something and it didn't work, it's what did you learn? Not why did you fail? It's what did you learn? So there was always that can-do acceptance that when you do stuff and you poke the box, it isn't going to give you the answer you want, but you learn lots from it. And this is to Peter Rose's point earlier about early businesses talk about fail fast. It's not fail. It's constant learning, moving from being an operationally efficient business to a learning business. And then, of course, how do you change culture? Now, I'm just going to give a quick plug, as if I haven't already. Technology Ireland, ICT SkillNet offer these training modules subsidized from anything from low costs to practically none. If you want to get in touch with Gillian after this, she would gladly take your call on that. So when we take a look at digital transformation, and I'm coming back to you in a second, Rachel, when we look at digital transformation, we look at it from this perspective. It's more than just the tech, although tech is really important. There's the mindset of the leaders that doesn't change, because if you're the CEO of a bakery, you used to be a baker, you bake great bread, you started to run, you understand the industry, and now you are the chief in charge of the bakery. But that does not mean you will understand how to compete in a digital economy. What took you to that point is not what will take you further. This is why it has to start with education. There is staff and customer engagement, communications. If you can't express the value, as Rita McGrath mentioned earlier on, then how is anybody else expected to understand? There is the practice of innovation, and innovation is not good ideas. I had 4 good ideas in the shower this morning, and they're washed away with yesterday's dreams. We have the technology, which Peter has spoken about, all essential and can be inspirational. And we looked at the data and analytics in Rachel Fremore's case. That just were able to cut through the noise within a day and tell her business was never going to work in its current state. Can I switch back to you now, Rachel? What happened when we started to look around for business models, technologies that could act as an inspiration? Can you talk about Fergus and his intervention?
Well, so Fergus's role as CTO and chairman of Loweconex, he's also in charge of innovation for our group. So even though he has a focus on this technology platform, he is also in charge of a team that makes sure that they bring ideas to the table on a quarterly basis so that we keep the group moving forward as well.
Okay, I'm going to give you, here's an example. I don't know if you even know that this is about to play, Rachel. When I met Fergus, this is the communications that he had produced. He was selling his technology to technologists from a technologist perspective. Now, so he's a highly skilled technologist and data scientist. He's been asked to digitally transform the business, and what Loweconex does will become apparent in a second. And he then builds it from the perspective of selling technology to technologists. Now, watch this video. The sound is a little bit odd, and we'll play the first 15, 20 seconds. And if you can understand it, you're a good technologist.
Loweconex harvests millions of individual, otherwise unconnected data points from any enabled device. Using the latest wireless MQTT principles, Loweconex sends this data instantly and securely to a revolutionary cloud-based datasphere. Once collected, the datasphere provides an unparalleled 360-degree view of your connected assets and their comparable data. AI-powered automation and two-way communication provide a statewide predictive maintenance, continuously driving efficiencies that reduce costs.
And anybody got what it does yet? So the challenge is with that is that the assumption here was that we have this IoT technology that we will sell to technologists at the other side, and they will buy this technology that allows you to do remote monitoring of your refrigeration and your heating and ventilation systems. So the technologist, when in charge of digital transformation alone, comes up with a technology-based solution. In comes Stuart Penrose. This guy's a genius. He understands communication. He works in Loweconex, and he is the guy that says, we need to look for a wave of change. Ride the wave of change. Now, anybody who gets this into the chat, I want to know, where does this ad come from? Representing waves of change. If you can get it into the chat window first, you will get an unlimited supply of this product. Anyone? Audrey Gaffney, you will get... Everybody's going to Audrey's house. We're going to have Guinness time in Audrey's house. Sorry, the rest of you were close. Here's the thing. The waves of change, we know that they are perpetually coming, but you'll notice that the guys have to get up on the surfboard over and over and over again before they come expert. They have to practice. To quote the famous Irish poet Christy Moore, as I sat looking up at the Guinness ad, I could never figure out how your man stays up on the surfboard after 14 pints of stout. Has anybody ever wondered what Christy Moore would look like if he opened his eyes and sang that? Well, I've just done it for you in case you wanted to know. Enough of this shenanigans. Here's what's happening. Waves of change are essential if transformation is ready to work. It could be recession, house prices, Brexit, industry change, war in Ukraine, supply chain issues. You just lost a big contract. Something is shaking the business because the motivation to do business as usual is so much more powerful than the change. So you look for the wave of change, and Stuart understood this. Stuart then also understood that the technology piece will drive that change, whether it's AI, robotics, wearables, augmented reality, Internet of Things, blockchain, cloud. And we went with IoT in this circumstance. And what Stuart was able to do was to be able to figure out that if he took your industry expertise, where we work in refrigeration, in retail in particular, there's a wave of change coming up. And there is a new emerging technology, which is going to be IoT. We're going to create an opportunity to innovate. So he couldn't do this without Fergus. He couldn't do this without Rachel. The leaders need to be involved. The comms people need to be involved. The tech people need to be involved. And he then goes about creating value propositions and testing them. Okay, my wonderful friends, we're going to go back to getting another little survey. Oh, have I got the survey here? No. Let me just get the right URL. It's the same URL. You're going to see your screen change. Let me just pop it in here. We're coming close to the end. I know I'm standing between you and lunch. No one ever likes that. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to give you 4 value propositions that Stuart tried. He's taken this technology. What it does is it allows remotely to see the energy utilization that happens inside retail outlets. So if you're Tesco, if you're Sainsbury, you could have your heating system on, blowing hot air on top of your refrigeration, and the refrigerator then freezer breaks because it's over pumping and you lose all the produce in that freezer, close 2 aisles. It can be a mess. You can be spending money heating and cooling at the same time. Rachel, am I doing this justice?
Might give you a job someday now.
It's bringing us back into the old one, Niall. It's bringing us back into the first poll, that link.
Okay, here we go. It didn't go live for me again. What I'll do is, oh, there it is. You see when I hit stop and then go, it seems to go. There we go. Okay. Why is that happening? I'm not quite sure, my friends, but what's very interesting is that you're all picking the value proposition that's going to win, and I haven't given you the 4 value propositions yet. I also can't see my next slides, whatever's happened to it. Anyway, we'll keep it going. Everything's good. So is the value proposition that's going to sell more about smart IoT platforms, selling it to technologists? Is it going to be about energy reductions, selling this to environmental facilities managers? Is it going to be environmental, social and governance, ESG, selling it to finance? Is it carbon emissions reduction? Because it does all of this to all of these different target audiences. So the question that I have, we'll come back to that survey. I'm going to show you these 4 value propositions. You tell me which one you would have pursed this business into as its core value proposition. Smart solutions, intelligent automation. At Loweconex, we're award-winning cloud-based IT software platform and hardware that enables retailers to implement intelligent automation at scale. Would you have gone for that one? Energy reduction, easy as IoT. This is the facilities managers. This is the key message. Analyze live data, go smart, choose IoT, energy management. Would you have gone for that? Would you go for ESG? Comprehensive data, centralized reporting. This is where actively help retailers track and report on their environmental, social, and governance environmental progress with error-free and up-to-date auditable data. And it's typically the finance personnel who are in charge of ESG. Or would you have gone for the sustainability officer? Move towards a net zero future. Let's talk about targets. Now, there is some overlap between ESG and sustainability officers, but for the consequence of this, all four were tested by Stuart. So just to recap, smart IoT platforms for technologists, energy reduction for facilities managers, environmental, social and governance for finance, carbon emissions reductions for sustainability officers. Which one? Please, but if I hit stop and then go, it will go. Okay. So we have 33% saying it's the technologists. We have 36% saying it's facilities managers. We have 22% saying it's ESG. And then the smallest one here is carbon emissions for sustainability officers. Any final changes? We can maybe get a share of that. Guinness, whoever got this right. Rachel, when you ran the tests, who was most attracted to which proposition?
Yeah, it was C-suite in finance in relation to our ESG proposition.
ESG.
Mm-hmm.
There you go, guys. So 76%, 78% are wrong in your guess. And so was I.
And so were we. We were, we had to do a lot of testing in order to get to that point.
So here we are sitting with the technology being digitally transforming the operating model of the business, creating new products or services, testing the market as we go.
Mm-hmm.
And now I'll not reveal figures, Rachel, but Rachel's business is incredibly successful in this. You were telling me yesterday, Rachel, about stuff you're doing. Could you give us an example of the stuff you're doing with Dr. Martens and the like? Tesco, who are you working with in this?
Well, yeah, so Dr. Martens, again, at the start of this journey, wouldn't have been a customer even in our foresight, given that we're refrigeration and HVAC specific in terms of our capabilities. But Dr. Martin, with their own in-house objectives of lowering carbon, they're very focused on their ESG credentials and their stores of the future. We've helped them to secure one of their BREEAM accreditations, which was high up on their agenda, by fully connecting their stores and giving them full access and control and locking down parameters within all running capabilities of their stores. So again, at the start of this journey, that wasn't a company that we would have ever seen as a potential for us. And given the work that we have done to test the markets and understand the potential of the technology, we've been able to expand into different addressable markets.
Anything more to add, Rachel, before I go back to Mick and Peter here to get their final roundup? Because I can hear Tommy's rumbling here. Have you anything more work? I'm going to start with you then, Rachel. If you had a piece of advice to impart on SMEs who are struggling and need to find something, need to change, need to move, need to engage more in the digital economy, what would be your starter for 10?
So I don't have one. I have quite a few. So the learning and education piece is really important. You were very valuable to us in the whole process of understanding and being strategic around what we're doing. Being agile, and don't just stick with your first decision, but test and go with the data. It's very easy to get caught up in what you feel you can do and the vision of what your product will do for its customers. But if they don't want it and they don't accept it, then you have to be agile and move and change it. But invest in your people and your structure and give good accountability within that structure in order to drive results out of the strategy that you go to implement.
Brilliant. Yet again, thank you. Can I cut across to you, Mick? Have you got, with all of your mountains and mountains of digital experience, what would be your take homes?
Yeah, well, I suppose my biggest thing would be, and it's something I practice every day, is about keeping it simple. And I'm talking about keeping it extraordinarily simple. I mean, too many times, our technology, in fact, the technology that we supply now to sort of gift companies, book companies, everything else, came about not through building out complex systems. In actual fact, it came about through ripping our complex systems apart to make them extremely simple. And that has led for us to, again, a possibility of going into new markets. For example, in the UK now, there's companies that are running our technology to ship products for us in those markets. So it's opening up brand new markets for us. So the number one thing for me is really keep it simple. Too many times you see in environments where people are trying to sort of overcomplicate things. They get technology, and then because they believe that this technology, they believe they can do absolutely everything, everywhere, at any time. It doesn't work that way. What you're doing sometimes is you're sort of damaging what the technology can do for you. So it's all about understanding what you're good at, really keeping it simple. And then if there was one more thing really for us, it's about surrounding yourself with ideas people. For us, it was all about, and our ideas didn't come from structured meetings or anything else. They typically came from, sitting on a plane, working out something on the back of a card, working out a new process, and literally coming back in the next day and implementing that new process. They didn't all work, but it was about trial. It was about trial and error. And the vast majority of them worked. And even the ones where we had to we ripped out certain processes. And then we'd come back and we'd have a new process next week. But actually, we'd put part of that process we ripped out with it. And all of those things led to a position that, for us, it meant a reduction in sort of, or an increase in throughput of about 300% per person in terms of getting out orders out the door. So if there was one thing in it, Keep it simple, really simple.
Thank you very much, Mick. If anybody has a question in the last 5 minutes or so here, please put it into the chat and we'll try our best to answer it. Peter, I'm coming to you with the last word. Well, it's not the last word. I think Gillian's rounding up, but what would be your advice?
I'm going to go back to our own business rather than customers and echo some of the things that have been said. I mean, when we created Tech Enabled 20 years ago, there were 4 of us. And I think we offered something in the region of 20 different services to our customers. And apart from not being particularly credible for 4 people to be able to offer 20 services, it wasn't sustainable or effective. So we specialized. We based on the observed demand, what our customers were saying they needed. And we focused in. I think we reduced it to something like 3. I think, and that, when we first started, we would have dug a hole in the road for somebody if they'd asked us to be honest with you. But we very quickly specialized in on 3 different services, and that absolutely transformed us as a business. It took us probably to the first sort of 50 or so staff. We understood the market. We understood who was buying from who. It's absolutely fundamental. Once you've entered the correct, that's fundamental to identifying the right race to run. Once you've entered that race, you need the running shoes, as I said earlier. But I want to point out that the race doesn't necessarily be online. I think there's a fundamental assumption that digital transformation means going online. Not every business is suited to online. It's beautiful perhaps for retail, but there are specialist businesses. There are businesses like professional services that can't be delivered online. They can't be bought online, and the subtleties of them can't necessarily be well explained online. Ours would be one of these. So we don't sell online. We have a website like everybody else, but we don't sell online. I just want to get that point. Don't assume that digital transformation is about finding a market and targeting them with Google, right? It's not all about that. 2 final points. The multidisciplinary team is really critical, but you need to engage the tech people very early, because the art of the possible, they can inform that. And then just something we do internally, we run what we call the 10% competition every year. We've got about 160 staff coming from, I think, 19 different countries. And they all have different backgrounds and different viewpoints, and different ideas and different ways of thinking about things. And the assumption that the management team in a business, even though they may bring in very good consultants and support, have all of the ideas is just not true. Some of our best ideas have actually come originally from the wider team. So bring them in, get their thoughts, get their observations, and take them seriously. Run a 10% competition as we do.
Okay, and no questions in there. Elaine, have we got anything?
No, I think there was such a fantastic, I suppose, span of items that we covered. I think there's one that's actually after coming in there from Ian Cahill, for Mick in particular. Hi, Mick, did I hear correctly that you fulfill for third parties? So not only do you have the Mick's garage fulfilling for the car side, the car parts, maybe just to share about the other side of the business.
Yeah, so sorry if you can all hear me there. Yeah, so we have, I mean, it is part of our business, again, that opportunity, that the development of our tech has brought us lots of opportunity. And one of those was actually fulfilling for third parties. So yeah, so we do fulfill. If anyone knows, if anyone has kids in the cool camps or whatever, you would have gotten your deliveries to the door this year. We do all the fulfillment on that. Would also do it for one more client as well, which I can't mention. But it is, again, it's just technology has brought us lots of different opportunities, and really, it's I suppose it's bringing a lot more opportunity. It's fulfilling for others, but also having other companies fulfill for us using our technology. So yes is the answer.
Good stuff. Thanks, Mick. I see there's a lovely comment and observation there from Articulate Digital, Niall. Directly to yourself, saying the new digital transformation is creating a sales convening funnel online where the business can educate their audience about their products and services, or any kind of business, personal service, retail or manufacturing.
Yeah, I would even push it further than that. It's creating a business that is capable of competing from a digital perspective. The thing that Peter noted was that if you go niche, the fear of going niche is that there isn't a broad enough market, but in the digital economy there is. I mean, if you're exporting, these are products or services, 99% of my business is export. It is not in Ireland, and we offer services, education services and consultancy services, and they're exported. And it's because we keep it very niche. and the world can find you. So all of our inquiries are inbound, not from us banging doors in order to get out. So and that only comes from what Peter says is there's the old saying, get big, get niche, or get out. And so it's the sales funnel only works if you find your product market fit. And that's usually the first step, the product market fit. You've got a product that would fit in the market, global market, regional market, but you've defined the market and it works. And then you're into how do you optimize.
Very good, excellent. So my colleague and our managing director here at AIBF, Capil, I know is going to share one or two questions with you before we wrap up.
Sure, thank you, Elaine. So first I would like to call upon Shay Lynch, the founder of Future States. Shay, over to you.
Thanks, Capil, and thanks, Niall, for a fabulous presentation, and great to hear all the success stories. It's always good to hear success stories, so well done to you all. And Niall, a quick question for you. I went down this journey just pre-COVID a number of years ago. And first of all, I totally buy into the logic of the process of going down this Google, the data, like interrogate the data, find out where that fit is. I totally believe that, as opposed to going to sort of the likes of Facebook ads and then going, well, what do I think my people like, right? But I employed a third party before, and we went along a journey, took a lot of time, spent a lot of money, and I had very little to show for it. So the question I have for you is, what's the key criteria that you would consider to setting up when you're working with third parties in this regard to ensure the success for both you and the third party, so the relationship goes a long journey?
There's two types of data. There's qualitative and quantitative.
Quantitative, yeah.
And qualitative is what do you feel when you talk to customers or potential customers. They go, yeah, I like it, and you've got to show them something. If you say to a customer, what do you want? I want the sun, the moon, and the stars. You got to then go and show them a proposition and then get their feedback and sit and listen. Empathic listening. And quite often digital people forget about that part. And that usually comes much more heavily in early stage innovation and change. Then you hand it to the technologists and the digital guys who can place the ads on the value propositions that make it work. But if you try to just do it digitally and hope that that's enough, you miss qualitative data. And it needs both. Quants tend to look down their nose at qual work. I hold them both in high esteem. Get out and talk to customers. So the question then that I would roll back is that I always see, Shay, people sacking their agencies because it didn't give the results they want. But the actual result may have been that the product market fit you went for was not what the customer wanted, or your timing was wrong, or your approach to the market wasn't quite right. And your call is, do I keep spending or do I drop this? And that's a leadership decision that needs to be made. But it is unlikely that it was the agency that did it wrong. They delivered the proposition you gave them to deliver. The market didn't accept. So I would just be careful. I'm not sure, the detail of this. I'm not sure of the detail.
No, you're making absolute sense now.
Yeah,
by the way, they're really good people out. It's not a disregard to any of the stuff they do. As you said, it was hard to get that right fit, and we struggled.
Look, guys, I watched a great podcast. Lex Friedman, the guy's name was, and the guy he was interviewing, it's a 3-hour video on YouTube, or you can go into podcasts. And the guy he interviewed was called Brian Armstrong. Brian Armstrong was the founder of Coinbase, who are now worth 16 billion. You set up a person, you hold your cryptocurrency on Coinbase. $16 billion it's worth. He took 2 years finding product market fit. He spent $125,000 in those 2 years to find product market fit. But he knew there was something there. He didn't do anything more than Rachel did in her business. He was able to find the product market fit. And once it happened, the growth is exponential. It's not linear. It's typically exponential for technology adoption. And what he was trying to do was be a wallet to hold your cryptocurrency. He found that when you put in a buy button, that it massively extended the desire of his product. Now, he didn't want to do that, but he followed experiments and got to that point. And now they're fully FCC regulated. But watch it, just watch it. You listen to the language of how this digital first thinker was able to find an innovation in the market. And now he's changed the market. He scores big, but it took 2 years. How many small businesses have the capital to carry that, the desire to carry that? It doesn't have to be 2 years, as both Rachels showed, but there needs to be something set aside. It's not going to happen by bringing in a better web designer.
Thanks very much, Niall.
We've got another good question or two that have come in behind the scenes. I'm conscious of time, so it'll only be a minute or two. So Kapil, if you'd just like to shine a light on the next
Sure,
question.
absolutely. So listen, I'll call out. So Mick, that question for you. So looking back, is there anything you would have done differently?
Yeah, I think there's, I suppose that there's lots of things I would have done differently, but maybe you can't. I mean, certainly we made lots of mistakes en route that I'd love to turn the clock back and say we wouldn't make them again, but mistakes that make you as well along the way. I think certainly, I mean, going back, I think, we would have had, initially when we were hiring people and everything else, we would have taken on lots of complexity. I keep going back to the complexity thing in our business and the complexity in our software and everything else. I think certainly I would have kept it simpler for much, much longer. So really that's what it is about for me, is just really keeping it all much, much simpler.
Okay, thank you. Peter, I have one question for you as well. What's your advice on the common mistakes to avoid or pitfalls to avoid somebody who's really starting their journey on the digital transformation?
Wow. I mean, it's the key message from today, isn't it? Don't worry about the technology, worry about the business. Make sure you've actually got a business before you try to automate or spend money on anything else. And when you think you've got the business identified, test it without preferably spending lots and lots of money. And when you're sure, then you can invest.
Fantastic takeaways there. And I'd just like to sincerely thank Niall, to yourself, for a wonderfully engaging presentation. It really was, the way you brought it through the case study. I think it's something that we give us all an understanding of at a different level as to what digital transformation is all about. To Rachel, to Peter, and to Mick, thank you so much for sharing your journeys and your lessons along the way with us as well. And especially then to our masterclass sponsors, to Technology Ireland ICT Skillnet, who made it happen. We so appreciate and value your support. And on that note, I'd like to call on Gillian O'Grady of Technology Ireland ICT Skillnet to share with you maybe how they can continue to support each and every one of you along your journey. So Gillian, thank you so much for joining me, and thanks again for your support in empowering us to bring today's masterclass session to the business community.
Thanks, Elaine. That was absolutely fantastic masterclass. I can think, even from the comments, I can see everyone is just blown away by all the information. So look, at Technology Ireland ICT Skillnet, we know the journey can be difficult. Maybe you don't know where to start, or maybe you've lost direction. So in conjunction with today's brilliant speaker, Niall McKeown, we have worked on creating a variety of digital transformation programs and supports for Irish businesses. So currently we are taking bookings for our grant-aided intensive 5-day consultancy course that is taking place online in October, highly sought after, and we actually only have a couple of places left on this. We also have our fully funded bespoke in-house engagements. This starts with a no obligation 1-hour meeting to discover where you are, where you need to be, and how we can help you get there. The follow on from this will be 4 sessions with Niall and the management team to do a deep dive, plus an all-important company-wide webinar to demystify digital transformation and bring your entire organisation on the journey. Again, as you can imagine, this is a hugely popular option for companies, so there are very limited spaces left. Additionally, we have a fantastic catalogue of webinars discussing all aspects of digital transformation, from how to sell more in the digital economy to guides on building a resilient digital business. So our digital transformation programme is just one piece of our extensive offering. We give government funding towards our courses to employees and businesses across the Republic of Ireland. With the help of industry partners, we have built learning pathways in areas like artificial intelligence, cybersecurity, blockchain, data analytics, and many more. You can see them all on the screen there. So you can choose from accredited courses supported by Irish universities, or for a more self-paced approach, we have a selection of non-accredited industry programs. So look, for any information, please visit www.ictskillnet.ie and you can see our whole offering there. So thanks very much, Elaine.
Thank you so much, Gillian. And I think it's great to know that much more weighting that I'm personally putting on the whole area of digital transformation is the importance of the strategy and the business model behind it as well, and starting there. And Mick, I think, keep it simple. You can never, there's no need to overcomplicate some things, because life is complicated enough if we can simplify things as much as we possibly can. So on that note, I know that a few of you as well have dropped me a message about the Business All-Stars and how you can perhaps become involved in our activities. So just say go online, register your interest, and we'll continue the conversation as well. And for any other company that wants to be involved, just as ICT Skillnet Technology Ireland were involved with us today, we'd love to hear from you. We run a various load of activities and programs throughout the year. And for all of you on here today, I'd just like to share some key dates that are coming up in the diary with you as well. So we've got an entrepreneurs meetup coming up on the 13th of October in Galway. So we're really looking forward to this. It'll be in the Connaught Hotel, and we would love to invite you to be part of that as well. So more details will be coming across all of our social channels. And also we've got a Leaders and Entrepreneurs Forum and Christmas lunch coming on December the 9th in the Aviva Stadium. So I think it's a far cry from where we were at this time last year, when we didn't know if physical events and gatherings could even get back in our diaries. So this year I think it's great to be able to blend a mix of the virtual and also the physical gatherings. So on that note, I'd like to say, today is the day that you need to start implementing your learnings from today. And what is it that you have learned and can take away from today's session that will help you build the business of your future? So thank you so much for joining us today. And again, to all of our speakers, our panelists, and to Technology Ireland ICT Skillnet for their support. We look forward to being with you on many more journeys. So take care.